Hello my friends, it's the Game Boy Geek here. Today, we're gonna be going through time. It's gonna be flipping really fast forward, sometimes flipping fast backwards, and we're looking at sort of a trivia type game called Timeline Challenge. Now this is through Asmodee in the US. It's based upon the very popular game or card game called Timeline, which has many different versions. I think there's 6, 7, or 8 different versions out that you play a standard game. You mix all the cards together. This is a standalone game, which actually comes with its own cards. You don't need any other previous timeline to play this, but it's a full-blown board trivia game. But don't turn it off yet. It's not your normal trivia game. You don't actually have to know exactly the answer. Let's check it out. At the beginning of the game, you get to pick your piece on the board. Now this kind of feels like a little bit like Monopoly, picking your piece. They're not as solid, they're sort of light and plastic, but they do look really cool. They have a lot of detail. They're gold. We got the car, the train, the space shuttle, the plane, and the pirate ship. Now here's the board for the game. It's actually quite a pretty large board for a party type game. I mean, here's my hand, here's my arm. I mean, this is a pretty 6-panel big size board. And they start in the first spot. And what you're trying to do is you're gonna be answering questions and trying to get here. The first one there is the winner. Now you'll see some great artwork up here with some different timelines. You'll see some different challenges. Let's talk about what happens during the game. Each player also gets a player aid, sort of a scoring wheel that goes along with the component that they took. So this guy's the car, and they'll be using this during some of the challenges during the game. Now there's 110 cards that come in this game. Here's the draw pile, here's the discard pile. And on the back of these are basically the dates that correspond with this. So this is Apple Foundation. So when was the company Apple founded? And on the back of here is a date, and that's sort of how the cards work. Now whatever spot the leader is in is the challenge. At the beginning of the game, we do this sort of green challenge here. And the green one is basically, there's 4 cards here, it's called the timeline. And notice each of these cards is put with a circle, triangle, square, and star. So we have Apple Foundation, the invention of bleach, the invention of the dog biscuit, and the appearance of cubism. Now, you'll notice that each of these shapes here also match up with the square, the triangle, the square, and the star on your board. So what you're going to do is at the top of the board, you'll see these figures here. And you'll see like numbers 4 and 5. Well, between numbers 4 and 5, you'll see the date 1750. Now, if I think one of those things happened between 1750 and 1820, I would select the number 5 for that card because it's right in between those two. If I think it's between 1930 and 1970, I would select 8 on my board for that card. And after everyone has sort of done their thing, they'd flip it over. When everyone's ready, they just put it down, and they would flip over the cards, and we would see how many each person got right. For every one of these that you flipped over and got right, you'd get a point. And I'm not going to show you the dates. I don't want to really ruin it for you. So let's say 2 people got 2 right, one of them got 3 right, one of them got 1 right, one of them got none of them right? So that's how it would look. Now we always look at whoever's first, and so now we would do the pink challenge. And this is sort of the combination challenge where here they are, and here's the emblems again. And essentially what you do is on your board, you try to say which one is first, second, third, and fourth in a timeline. So I have this, and all the numbers are gonna be 1, 2, or 3, or 4. So maybe I think the barcode came second, maybe I think this one was first, and so on and so forth. So you'll have a 1, a 2, a 3, and a 4 at the end. And after everyone's ready and they go, we flip the cards over, which I'm not going to do. We would show you the dates on the back, and to make it easier, you would actually put the numbers as to which one it actually was in order. This might not be correct, but don't worry, I don't want to do any spoilers on the dates on the cards here for you in case you buy the game yourself. So maybe this was first, second, third, and fourth, and everyone would combine, and every one they got right, they would get 1 point, and they would move forward on the board. Now, if you're doing a blue challenge, it's the split. So you'd put 2 cards here, and you would, on your board, try to just say how many years are difference between these 2 events. So I might say, well, I think it's 45 years difference between the credit card and Angie. And so again, the closest we flip them over, and then the one who's closest gets to move 4 points forward. If you're tied, everyone gets to move 4 points forward. Now this one is called the bet. And so we look at this, it says the invention of the rake. And I would look at the timeline board, we try to figure out where it is. If I think it's between 1820 and 1880, I'd put 6 on my board. But since you're betting, you get to bet as many or as little times as you want for a certain number. For example, if you're really sure it's one number, you could put them all as 6s or all as 7s, and you'll get 1 point. If it really was in between 1880 and 1930, and you put 7s on all 4, you'd get 4 points. If you put them on just 1, you get 1. So in this case, I said it's twice as 6s, twice as 7s. I'm pretty sure it's somewhere in there. And if I was right with one of these, I'd get 2 points because I have 2 of them. You could also just do 1 of each and just try to get 1 point because you're not really sure. Now this is called the right date, the yellow challenge. And on here we say the invention of the button shirt. Now here I say it is positive 1632. Now, when we flip this over, if I get 1 point for every one of these numbers, that's right. It's a positive, there's also a minus sign. So if you get the plus and minus wrong, you get no points. If it's, because some of the years can be before year 0, and you'd put the minus sign there. But in this case, I think it's in 1632. So if it was like 1645, I would have 2 of these right, I'd get 2 points. If I got it exactly right, I'd get 4 points because there's 4 things right. And if I just got the 1 right, I'd get 1 point. Now these things that we were doing are actually called trials, not challenges. There's 2 things of challenges that are on the board. As soon as the first player crosses one of these lines, we stop and do a challenge. A challenge always is the 2 worst, furthest player backs. It's sort of a catch-up mechanic. If 2 players were tied for the second worst spot, all 3 of these would be in the challenge, and it helps them try to catch up. And the way this first challenge works, it's called sudden death, is the person in last place, one would come out by itself, and we would flip it over, and you would see the date. I'm not going to do that, though, just for spoilers. And the next card would come out, and they would have to say if it's before or after this. Well, they think it's before this, then they put it down, you'd flip it over. If they're right, it goes to the next person. If they're wrong, they're automatically eliminated, and if there's only one other person that's challenged, the other player would win the challenge. So if people keep getting it right, and you're flipping it over, and you're putting in the right, so maybe the third card, this is like normal timeline here. So maybe that person got it right, and then this would go here, and then if it was correct, you're just trying to figure out where in the timeline it flips. And as soon as there's only one person left standing, that person wins the challenge. And the winner of that would go 3 spots, 1, 2, 3, let's say it was him, and then we would continue with starting the next trial. The other type of challenge is on this one here. As soon as the first player starts this, the last 2 players get to do another challenge. And in this challenge, it's called more or less. The person would read this out to other people and they would know the date. And the 2 challengers would go back and forth trying to guess the exact date. And they might say 1450. And then the person would either say higher or lower. Well, it's higher than that. Okay, 1860, lower. Okay, and so each player either says higher or lower. And with each reaction, they're learning whether it's higher or lower. They're trying to condense it into the spot. And whoever guesses the date first wins the 3-point challenge. That's pretty much the whole game. The first person to get to the end is the winner. And I'll show you the insert here. It has a nice spot for all the nice pieces. And these are all 110 cards that come with this game. So you can play it right out of the box. But notice there's enough room for easily 4 other timeline versions in this insert to add. If you've already got a bunch of the timeline boxes, throw them in here and you can play them with this. All right, there's Timeline Challenge. I really like what they've done with this. I mean, I recently just bought 4 timelines that I really like, and before that I've reviewed 2 of them. So I have 6 timelines, and my thing with timelines is always it's excellent fun. It's small and portable. You can take it anywhere. Everyone I've played it with likes it. It's quick, it's easy. The only caveat to my reviews for those are always, well, after you've played the same one a lot of times, you kind of know the cards. That could be a good thing because you actually shows that you learned some things and has retained some things. Other people don't like that so much. They want to see something new. Of course, you just get multiple sets and mix them all together. This comes with a standard set of 110 cards, which is about the same set as comes with all the other ones. So you can play this all by itself. And you can either add to them if you get sick of all the cards, or you can, if you already have them, great, this is even more reason to buy this. Now, I will say after 1 game of this with 5 players, we did run through about half the deck. So I think this is a longer game. It's at least twice as long as a normal timeline game, so you're probably going to go through twice as many cards. So this is a good starter set, and the other timelines are so inexpensive that it's easy to add more to this. Now, the game itself, I really like it. I like how there's all those different trials that you go through, and it changes the game. Every one's like a little mini game. And whatever the one's on first place, that's the challenge you're doing or the trial you're doing. I like it how it has those 2 challenges where when the first person crosses those lines, the last 2 players have a challenge between them and they try to get some sort of catch-up mechanic. I like that too. overall, it's a great addition to the timeline. I didn't even know this existed, and I'm very pleasantly surprised with this. The only caveat is I'd say it's definitely more thinky than normal timeline. There's more thought, it's a little more deeper, it's obviously twice as long, but for me, it's even better than the original timeline. Now, I liked how one of the challenges towards the end of the game is the original timeline game. So I played this with people who haven't actually played the original timeline before, and at the end of the game, I said, look, see this challenge? That's actually how you just normally play the game. And like, oh, well, that's cool, I like that. But yeah, having this grandiose thing's even better. Now, I will say the only negative thing about this is, now it plays up to 10 players. If you're playing 10, it's 2 people per team, and that's fine too. It can play a big group. My only negative to this is there's one of those challenges where you gotta put them in order, 1, 2, 3, and 4. And if people are sitting around the board and you're telling them, it's like, well, what's that one again? Okay, no, what are they again? And you're trying to figure them out. For that one, it almost makes sense for everybody to get up from the board and stand there and look at them and then do their thing and walk away, because that part gets a little confusing and hard to sort of do. But that's just a little nitpick. That one's probably my least favorite of them all, just because of that logistical issue. But overall, awesome. Gosh, I'm so excited because now I have a full-blown trivia game that goes with sets I've already bought. Oof, even if you haven't bought Timeline before, start with this. You can, and you'll play the whole game. You can even just play the regular Timeline game with these cards and then continue to add more. Excellent addition to the Timeline series. That's Timeline Challenge.